Hello, you're watching Outsider's Guide to Everything in the Known Universe with Rita Panahi, with James Morrow and with myself, Rowan Dean. This is where, week by week, topic by topic, we go through all those vexed subjects you often discuss at dinner parties or with work colleagues, or you may not, because you're not quite sure what you want to say. One of those which sometimes comes up and people shake their heads and go, I don't know, no idea about this one. Thatcherism and Reaganism. What were they all about and why were they so closely linked? Older people will, of course, remember that Margaret Thatcher was the first British Prime Minister. And obviously, school kids taught in Australia today won't even know who Margaret Thatcher or Ronald Reagan are, but they will by the end of this show. Margaret Thatcher, first female Prime Minister in Britain, elected in 1979. At the same time, Ronald Reagan came to power, 8 years as president in the 80s, hugely successful and great friends, Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan. But they really did define a new political ethos, which was basically the idea of smaller government. Let's have less government in our lives. Let's have a free market where people can, less regulation, can get on, set up their own businesses. And both Thatcher and Reagan looked very much to the hard-working individual, the family man, the small business person, the entrepreneur, to have a go free of the shackles of the state. Rita Panahi and James Morrow. First of all, Rita, give us your impression of Thatcherism.
Well, she was just a giant, and I think Thatcherism was all about personal responsibility, trusting the individual to know what's right for them instead of the state mandating what they should do, what they should be doing and taxing the bejesus out of them. One of the things she did was slash tax rates. And again, you never hear about that. You never hear about the enormous good she did in giving people incentive to work hard, to better themselves, to provide some measure of financial security for themselves and their family. The top tax rate was slashed from 83% to 40% under Thatcher. So that, to me, signifies so much of what she was about. It was about empowering the individual to do the best they can possibly do for themselves and their family. And she acknowledged that if you've got a thriving economy, that's how you can support those who can't take care of themselves. That's how you can provide that welfare, that safety net for those who genuinely need it. You can only do that when you've got people thriving, paying taxes, and then the economy's booming.
James, you were in the States at the time. How important was the relationship between Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan in shaping a kind of worldview, if you like, of the individual against the state?
Well, it wasn't just about the individual against the state, although that was part of it. It was also about, I think, a real declaration of both national sovereignty for the United States and the United Kingdom, but also, I think, the idea of Western cohesiveness against the Soviet Union. You know, remember, when Reagan and Thatcher came to power, the world was in a very, very dark place. The Soviet Union looked to be rampant. They just invaded Afghanistan. It was the height of the Cold War. Nuclear tensions were very, very high, and everybody was pretty much saying, you know, certainly received opinion was, well, you know, it's pretty much over for the West. You know, it's decline, it's recession, it's decay, our system is broken. And what both Reagan and Thatcher did was they reversed that. Reagan said, it's morning in America again. Thatcher, very similar ideas in the United Kingdom. The idea that, no, we are not going to go with managed decline. No, we are not going to allow the Soviet Union to just simply continue to expand communist dictatorships around the world. We are going to stand up for ourselves. We are going to stand up for what's right. You know, it's important to note a third character in all this, Pope John Paul II, who was instrumental in the fight against communism in Eastern Europe, and we can talk about that, I think, probably on another one of these guides. But what they did in terms of national confidence and civilizational confidence cannot be underestimated. And whatever you're going to say about Reagan and his deficits and putting prosperity on the national credit card, and whatever you want to say about Thatcher, you know, you have to give it to them that they completely shifted in a world-shaping way the way we saw ourselves. And that is, I think, the most important thing that any statesman or statesperson, I guess you'd say, in this case, can do.